In a quiet cove where the sea whispered secrets to the shore, there stood an old lighthouse made of stone, perched on a cliff above the gentle waves. It had stood there for over 100 years, brushing the sky with its glowing top every night, casting its slow, calming light across the sea. Inside the lighthouse lived a kind old keeper named Elias, and his striped gray cat named Moss. Elias had been taking care of the lighthouse for decades, but Moss was the true master of the routine. Every evening, just before the sun dipped into the ocean, Moss would stretch his paws, curl his tail, and lead Elias up the spiral staircase to light the lamp. As the lens began its slow turn, casting a warm beam into the night, Moss would perch on the windowsill, watching the stars appear one by one. Afterward, Elias would make a cup of chamomile tea and sit in his rocking chair by the fireplace. The only sounds were the crackling wood, the rhythm of the waves, and the occasional soft purring from Moss, who always curled up in a basket lined with a wool blanket. Some nights, when the sky was clear, Elias would tell stories to Moss about the ships he once sailed, the far-off islands he visited, and the constellations that guided him home. Moss never said a word, he just blinked slowly, as if to say, "I remember." As the hours drifted by, the wind hummed gently against the tower walls, and the lighthouse blinked its sleepy signal over the sea, like a great eye slowly closing. One light, then dark, then light again, steady, peaceful, and sure. Elias would soon doze off in his chair, the teacup empty and warm in his hands, while Moss snuggled closer, breathing slow and deep. And outside, the ocean kept its quiet rhythm, rocking the world like a cradle. Sleep came soft and easy in the lighthouse. Just as it does now. That night, as the lighthouse turned its golden eye to the sea and Elias drifted into dreams, something curious began to happen. Moss, curled in his little basket, twitched his whiskers once, then again. His ears flicked, and his paws stirred gently as if he were walking, but not along the stone floors of the lighthouse. No, in his dream, Moss was on a boat. It was not just any boat, it was a dream boat, made of old driftwood and pieces of sea glass, held together with string and starlight. A soft sail billowed above, stitched from fog and gull feathers. The sea around it wasn't dark or deep, but glowing, like liquid moonlight, and completely still. Not a single wave. Not a sound. Only the soft purring of the dreamboat as it glided across the water. Elias, too, was there, sitting quietly near the mast, dressed in a thick wool coat and a captain's hat that looked slightly too big for him. He didn't speak, but he smiled as Moss padded across the deck and sat beside him. Together, they drifted. Above them, the sky was full of constellations. Elias had told stories about the sleeping whale, the lantern tree, the cat with the crescent eyes. They shimmered brighter than usual, and when Moss looked closely, the stars seemed to blink like they, too, were falling asleep. "Where are we going?" Moss asked, though no words passed his lips. It was a dream, after all. Elias pointed ahead. There, rising from the glowing tide, was an island shaped like a seashell. On its shore were things you don't usually see, tall flowers that swayed even without wind, trees with bell-shaped leaves that rang softly, and glowing sea creatures that walked on land as if they had forgotten how to swim. Moss and Elias stepped onto the shore, and time seemed to pause. A gentle fog drifted in, not cold or thick, but comforting, like a warm blanket folded just right. They wandered slowly through the island's paths, where memories hung from branches like lanterns. One showed Elias as a boy, flying a kite by the sea. Another shimmered with a younger Moss leaping after a moth in a field of dandelions. Every memory was soft around the edges, like an old photo wrapped in velvet. "Is this a real place?" Moss asked silently. "It's a place between," Elias replied, though his voice was more of a thought than a sound. "Where dreams go to rest. Where light travels when we close our eyes." As they wandered deeper, they came to a pool as still as glass. Moss looked in and saw himself, not just as he was, but as every version of himself: kitten, hunter, sleepy companion. Elias, too, saw all his years reflected back: young sailor, lighthouse keeper, storyteller, dreamer. Then the stars above began to fade, not with fear or sadness, but as if someone was slowly turning down the lights for the night. The bell leaves chimed once more. The sea glowed softer. "It's time," Elias said gently. Moss curled up beside him again, right on the shore. The dreamboat returned without a sound, rocking quietly, as if it had waited the whole time. They boarded, lay side by side, and watched as the island drifted away behind them, becoming a soft shadow in the mist. And slowly, gently, they began to wake. Back in the lighthouse, dawn was stretching its fingers across the sea, turning the sky a soft peach and gold. The fire had burned down to glowing embers. Elias stirred in his chair, rubbed his eyes, and smiled. Moss yawned from his basket, stretched once, then twice, and padded over to the windowsill where the sun was just beginning to touch the glass. The light at the top of the lighthouse dimmed, as it always did when morning came. But something lingered from the dream, just a little. A feeling of peace, like everything was exactly as it should be. That the sea would always be watched. That dreams would always be there, just waiting, like the tide. Elias sipped his morning tea. Moss blinked slowly at the sea. And the lighthouse, calm and steady, stood watch for another day. Sleep, whenever it finds you again, will carry you back there. To the island. To the stars. To the gentle hum of the dream tide. And you'll be welcome. Always.